Yeah. We are in Lamed Gimel on base. And but people got a really good memory. You may remember a few years ago when we were at the beginning of the Masechta, we did just before Rosh Hashanah, we jumped to some of these Gemaras. People may remember that. But now, I mean, this is where we are up to, so it's really good. So let's see if we can see the full picture. But some of it should come back, and people may remember bits of it, which is always good. A bit of Chazorah is the best thing indeed.
I think you did ask a question, actually.
Wow.
The question you asked was, what is the Teruah like? And you didn't answer it. You said, ask your father.
Oh, yeah, that's part of the question. Yeah, let's see how that develops as we move through this. Right, we are. Remember the Mishnah. It's the first part of the Mishnah which we need to be concentrating on for the moment, which is Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, before we move to Lamed Daled Lamed Aleph. But Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, and it's the first couple of sentences in the Mishnah, which says the Seder Tekios, the order of the Tekios, and that's the generic word for the blowing of, we call them the Tekios, but of course there's a Shvarim, a Teruah, but it's the blowing, Litkoa Shofar, to blow, Lishma Kol Shofar. Actually, the mitzvah is not the blowing, actually. The mitzvah is the hearing. And we had some of this before. Those people who perhaps hard of hearing should come just nearer to the shofar. Yeah, I mean, yes, one can listen with a hearing aid, but if one can manage without, that's better still, and come towards the Baal Tokeh and listen clearly. But anyway, Seder Tekios, Sholish, Sholish. Remember, we spoke about this idea of the Sholish. Good to see you, Sam. Connecting in, coming in there. So you're in an airplane or something. Good to see you, Sam. We're doing the Mishnah Lamed Gimel on the base. Hello there. Not sure where you're ringing from, but it looks interesting background there.
He's on a bus.
On a bus. Well, there you go.
And the bus is in Israel.
Oh, there you are. Which bus is that? Where are you off to? Anyway, as it's all being documented. Okay, very good indeed. So that's very, very good. Yeah, Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, so we'll try and be as clear as we can. And we spoke about the order of the Tekios.
No, you took question to be.
Which is Sholish, Shel, Sholish. Remember the Mishnah, Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis? And remember the wonderful palindrome? Sholish, Shel, Sholish, which is an anagram, a palindrome, wonderful, with a four-worded palindrome, which is always nice. Sholish, Shel, Sholish. Shin Lamed Shin, Shin Lamed Shin, yeah, etc. Which means 3 sets of 3. And then we spoke about the shear of the Tekiah is like the 3 teruos, which meant, we learned in the Gemara last time, it doesn't mean the length of tekiah is like 3. It means the length of each tekiah is like the length of each one of those 3 teruos. A slightly difficult wording there, but when we had the clarification from the Brisa, the shear tekiah, if it would have said shear tekiah shear teruah, you might have thought it's the tekiah either side, because if you remember, the blowing and the fact the Gemara will pick that up, perhaps we won't see that this week, but the fact that the blowing of the shofar, it's like sandwiches. Yeah, we know sandwiches. You've got the middle part of the sandwich, and you've got the bread on either side. Yeah, if you're having a falafel, something like that in Sam, something like that, you've got the inside of the falafel, and you've got the outer cover. So you've got a tekiah, something in the middle, and a tekiah the other end. It's called a teruah, but it doesn't say shear tekiah keteruah, because then I might have thought the shear, when you add both of them, is the size the length of what's in the middle of the sandwich. It's not like that. It means the shear of each tekiah is like the sound of each one of the three teruahs. And they're going to be three because it's sholish, shel, sholish, sholish. Let's not get worried about what we actually do, because this is the building up from this Mishnah. So the Mishnah is telling us there are three sets of sandwiches. So yeah, you keep asking for an extra sandwich, and you have three of them, three sandwiches coming through, and each has a tekiah at the beginning, a tekiah at the end, if you like, the bread either side, and then you've got the main part of the sandwich in the middle, and that is the same length, or this is minimum length. You can have it longer if you like, but the minimum length of the teruah, or the tekiah, is the same as the length of the teruah. So notice it's that way round. So the size of the outer part of the sandwich is the same as the middle part, but we haven't defined what the middle part is yet. That's why we need the next piece of the Mishnah, and then it says Shiur teruah ke sholish yevavos. Now it's very interesting, because if you look at Rashi doesn't have that ke at all. Rashi has sholish yevavos. It is actually sholish yevavos, and that is the same gear. So you may see around the side, you've got the Pirush of Rabbeinu Hananel, another one of these very early commentaries, and he also has say sholish, and there he's got Shiur tekiah. But the next one says Shiur teruah shalosh yevavos. I don't know if you got that on the side, but if you have, it's on what's called the Rabbeinu Hananel around the side of the Gemara. Okay, so that is quite important. So according to Rashi, the shear of the teruah is shalosh yevavos. What is a yevava? And Rashi tells us a yevava is, you see the Rashi there, sholish yevavos, sholish kolos ba'alma koldahu. That's the best way you could define the shortest possible sound. Sholish kolos, three sounds, ba'alma, in the world, like a minimum of a kolshahu. The smallest, that's it. So the middle part of the sandwich, the teruah, is three yevavos. Okay? Now, at that part, the Mishnah then goes on, going on to another point, which we don't need, because we pick it up where it says, Shiur teruah kegimel yevavos. Have you got that in the Gemara? 14 lines up. 13, 14 lines up. Shiur teruah kegimel yevavos, or according to the text that Rashi's got and Rabbeinu Hananel. But Shiur teruah is three yevavos. Yeah? So we're happy with that. Says the Gemara of Tanya, we've got a brisa which says Shiur teruah kishloisha shavorim, a different word. These are not synonyms. Now, if we've just defined, according to Rashi, that three yevavos are three of the smallest possible sounds, and we have a brisa which says the shiur of a teruah is kishloisha shavorim. Now, the word shavorim, okay, shloisha shavorim, that word must be longer. Yeah? Mathematics, very simple. If we've got the smallest possible sound, it's called a yevava, and then we have a shavorim, and they're not synonyms, then the word, it must be longer by definition. So we now have a problem. Our Mishnah says that the teruah in the middle of the sandwich is three sounds. We now have a brisa which tells me, no, it's not that short. It's slightly longer than that. It's three shavorim, which must be longer than a single note, minimum two, say. So rather than with me. Omer Abaya, Bahov Vadai Pliki. Although we managed to put the brisa from last time and the Mishnah on the earlier part of the Mishnah, and there's no conflict, here we do have a problem because the brisa disagrees with the Mishnah. And what is this all about? And if you see the Rashi there, the Rashi says Shavorim, again about 12 lines up or so, Aruchim Niyavovos. They are longer, but as we said by definition, they must be longer than Yavova because Yavova is the smallest possible sound. So we've got two definitions of a Teruah. The word Teruah is either three separate, very small notes or slightly longer than that. Which one is it? Says Abaya, Boho Vadai Pligi. There certainly is an argument, and there's no way we can place together without any conflict between the Brisa and the Mishnah on this point. And let's see where it all stems from. Well, says the Gemara, beginning of the line is Pligi. Got that beginning of the line? Dichsiv. We've got a posuk. It's written. Yom Teruah Yihye Lochem. This is in Bamidbar, in Pashas Pinchos. You have the posuk around the side. I have two. Remember, the first of them, Achudish Hashvi, got that link to whatever your letter is. Mine is a little aleph. It says, B'chodesh Hashvi, the 7th month, on the 1st of the month, a day of a holy calling. Yeah? Work can't be done. Besides, of course, we know if for cooking, that's possible. But Yom Teruah Yiyelochem, a day of Teruah. What do you mean a day of Teruah? A day of, what does the word Teruah mean? Very close and similar to the word reus, friendship. In fact, earlier on, we find in the Pasha of Balak, we've had this word Teruah. And Teruah can also be friendship, everybody coming together. So is that what this word Yom Teruah means here? Friendship? Says the Gemara, no. That's why it's so important we use the Targum, again by Tanoim, to Matargaminon. If you look at the Targum, and I think last time we asked Peter, won't bother you now, but last time we asked Peter to look up the posuk with the Targum, and if we saw on that word Yom Teruah, the Targum translates it as Yom Yabova, a day of Yabova. So we've moved a little bit closer. We've got a translation into Aramaic, very close Aramaic and Lashon HaKodesh in Hebrew. And it's translating this word Yom Teruah into Yom Yabova. Now, if you're familiar with Aramaic, you might know what that means. But if you're not, how do we know what the word Yabova means? Says the Gemara with its search engine, Uchasiv Ba'ema de Sisra. Amazing where we have to move to. We move to the book of Judges, Shoftim. People may remember the wonderful story of Sisra coming to attack with his 900 chariots, Barzel, or sounds like iron, against Klal Yisrael. And in fact, he loses the Milchama. Amazing, the great Sisra. And remember, he runs off on his own, off his chariot, tries to escape, does escape, and gets to the house of Yoel. Remember Yoel? And remember, she actually kills him. And smites him with this, was like a mallet. Remember, he goes to sleep, actually drinking milk, and she manages to kill him. But meanwhile, there's a posuk later on where it's talking about in the the story about, and it refers to the mother of Sisera. And here's the pasuk, Batosha Devora, wonderful Shira of Devora, Shiras Devora. And it says there, Ba'at hachaloin, through the window, Nishkafo, looking, Vatiyabev Aim Sisra. And Aim Sisra is looking through this lattice, Vatiyabev Aim Simra. She's crying, waiting, where is my son? Not expecting, he should have been back by now. Won all the battles. Great, strong Sisra with his huge army. And what's happened to him? She is crying, Vatiyabev Aim Sisra. Mervyn, good to see you. Vatiyabev, we're in Lamed Gimel, Lamed Base, 6 lines up. Vatiyabev Aim Sisra. The mother of Sisra is crying. Actually, you could look at that posture. Can we bring that up, actually, if I can trouble you, Peter? We're going to, let's go to Sepharia. We'll go to Judges, chapter 5:28. Tanakh, excellent. Go down to Judges, yes. I think it's 5:28. That was quick. No messing about. Obviously been practicing. 5:28 as we come down through Shiras Devora. Excellent. 26, 27, 28. Biad Allah through the window peered Sisera's mother. Vatiyabev Aim Sisera Ba'adho Eshnov. They've got the word wind with an H. Vatiyabev Aim Sisera Ba'adho Eshnov. Madua Boishesh Richpo Lobo. Why is his chariot so long coming? Madua Echeru Parme Makavosov. Parme means the wheels, namely the clatter. Parme are Markavosov, the Merkov, yeah, the sound of the Pa'amayim. We talk about the sound. What's happened to my son, she says. So there's the crying of Aim Sisera. Okay, thank you, Peter. More later on. So thank you. So she's crying. So now we have this. She's waiting. Where is my son Vatiyabev? It says she's peered through Nishkafa. And then Vatiyabev, she is crying. What type of cry? So now, going back, we've got this word actually used in the Torah. Tanakh, I mean. It says Vatiyabev, which was the Targum of Yom Teruah. So we've gone A equals B equals C. A is Yom Teruah. The Targum translate Yom Teruah, Yom Yabova. That word Yom Yabova, we now move across to C, and we find in Judges it means crying. So now A to C, or C back to A, tells us that Yom Teruah is not a day of friendship. I mean, might be that as well, but that's not what the word means. It's a Yom Teruah. It's a day of, you're meant to have a sound of crying here. Yom Teruah Yelochem. How do you get this sound? Says the Gemara. What type of crying are we referring to? Vatiyabev Aim Sisera Ma'asova Genuche Gonach U'Ma'asova Yelule Yolel. It can either be a moan, she's moaning, oh, where is her son? Or it could be a crying, much worse, more a real tearful cry. Ma'asova, that is the brisa that says it's shvarim, it's longer notes. It's more of a moaning. Oh dear, where is Sisera? The Mishnah, however, when it says it's Yevavos, shorter notes, It's a crying note. Ha 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 ha. Where is Sisra? That is the machloikas in the Gemara. Have a look, please, at Rashi. The Matarguminon, about 8 lines up. The Targum of the word Teruah is Yabova. Uba de Sisra, we go to the mother of Sisra, Kasiv Nami Hailishno Batiyabe. You've got the same word that cry. Now we know it means crying. The word, yeah. So man the Omar Shavorim, the Brisa that says the middle part is a Shvorim. So the Gonach, the main part of that, the notes that you're blowing on the shofar, Genuche Gonach Ka'odam Hagoneach, says Rashi. Milibai, moaning from his heart, Kederach HaCholim Shema'arichim Bignichu Sehem, who lengthen out their moan, crying, oh dear, longer notes. The fact that there's a tekiah before it and a tekiah after it, the Gemara will learn that out from Psukim, so let's not worry about that. But the main part is that the middle is a Genuche Gonach. We call that nowadays Shavorim. The next Rashi of the page, however, the Mishnah that mentions they are Sholosh Yevavos, and we know the word Yevava means the smallest possible notes. There's that word Yevava, you see. Yulule Yolil, says Rashi, Ka'odam haboiche, crying, umakoinein koilos ketzorim, shorter notes, sumuchim ze lozer, close to each other. Oh, that type of cry is the cry of the shofar. So we now have machlokas, and we understand the machlokas between the Mishnah, shorter notes, the Brisa, longer notes, and whatever the length of the middle part of the sandwich, you've got to then say that the tekiah before and after it are the same length as the middle of the sandwich. Okay? Are we happy with that? So far, so good. So we now know if you wanted to fulfill the mitzvah according to both the Mishnah and the Brisa, you'd have to blow tekiah, what we call teruah tekiah, that's like the Mishnah, or tekiah shavorim, tekiah like the Brisa. So far, so good. How many do you have to blow? 3 sets. Sholosh, shel, sholosh, sholosh. So how many is that? According to the Brisa, it's 9 notes. Tekiah, shavorim, tekiah, 3 times. Why 3 times? The Gemara will explain, because of the psukim. Don't need that for the moment. That's the Brisa. The Mishnah holds how many notes are you blowing? Again, 3. A tekiah or teruah, that although there are 3 notes in between, that's called a teruah. Tekiah, teruah, tekiah, 3 times. 9 and 9, 18. Now we know there's something else we blow, a shavorim and a teruah. What is all that about? So although now the Gemara will go on to explain a long brisa, it says Tonu Rabbanon, which actually goes straight on to Lamed Daled, and that is actually the proof that you need a tekiah before and a tekiah afterwards. We'll leave that for the moment. If you go to Lamed Daled, eight lines down on the page, you have the words that we brought before, which was Shiur tekiah ketrua, Shiur teruah keshloisha shavarim. You with me? Those are the words that we took earlier on when we asked a question against the Mishnah. Yeah? So now, from Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, where it says Tonu Rabbanon, right up to line 8 of Lamed Daled is a long brisa not part of the Mishnayos, which concludes with the words we brought before to ask a question of a contradiction. We've answered the contradiction and we've just said, well, sorry, there is actually an argument between the Brisa and the Mishnah, and I say the Brisa then brings lots of proofs why it needs a tkir before and a tkir afterwards. I'm skipping that for the moment because I want to now look at the end of Lamed Dalet, because this brings the whole piece to its conclusion. Have a look at 9 lines up from the end of the page. Starts miskase, and it's the end of that line. Have you got that?
Yeah.
Thank you. At the end of that line, it says, after going through the Brisa and analyzing that Brisa in detail, which hopefully we'll get to, but not today, Iskin Rab Avohu Bekisri. There we are, Caesarea. Good, nice spot there, Caesarea for people. Not the same as Tzfat, but Caesarea, yeah. There you are. Rabbi Avohu, he instituted in Caesarea something else. Now, Rabbi Avohu is not a Tana. He's not part of the Mishnah. He is not part of the Brisa. What is he? He's an Amora. Early Amora? Yes, but an Amora. And he instituted something else for Rosh Hashanah. He instituted Tekiah Shloisha Shavorim Teruah Tekiah. There is the third set. Tekiah, Shavorim, Teruah, 3 Shavorim actually, as we know, Teruah, Tekiah. This combination of the Mishnah and the Brisa is an institution of Rabbi Avohu. And you may well say, what gives him the right to introduce that? I mean, so Rosh Hashanah davening is not short. And to lengthen out the Tekiyahs and blow that as well, why did he do that? If you want to fulfill the mitzvah according to the Mishnah and the Brisa, fine. But why institute something new? Okay. Says the Gemara Monavshach, which way, either way round, like whichever way round you like, more nafshcho. What is your view here? If you actually are of the camp of the Yulule Yolil, remember the Yulule Yolil, the shorter notes, which is the Mishnah, Levit Tekiah Teruah Tekiah. If he actually supports the Mishnah, he's of the view that the Mishnah's the correct halacha, then do that. If he is of the opinion of the Brisa, that what? It should be, remember the moaning notes, Levet Tekiah Shloisha Shavarim Tekiah. Why is he instituting this combination? Says the Gemara, Mesapkele. He is in doubt. If he's in doubt, what's he in doubt about? He is in doubt, says the Gemara, whether it was the longer notes or the shorter notes. So he did both. And at the moment we think that's all he did. He did Tekiah, Shavarim, Teruah, Tekiah, 3 of those, and he thought that way he's done everything he needs to do. He's covered himself. Doesn't need to blow both sets. He will blow that and he's captured both sounds. Are you with me? So the middle part of the sound, which is now very large indeed, mine is one of these American sandwiches, with a huge the central, the middle part is huge, and imagine the bread on either side has to match. So you've got a really large sandwich here with your long tekiah, because we've already learned in the Mishnah, whatever the length of the middle part, that's the tekiah. He is now having a tekiah, shavarim true in the middle, and tekiah. You could argue and say that maybe the tekiah wasn't as long as the tekiah and shavarim, because he's only doing out of doubt. So maybe if you'd say the 3 shavarim is longer than the 3 yovavos, then perhaps he did the tekiah the same length as the 3 shavarim. You with me? Because he's only doing it out of doubt. So far, so good. So this is why Rabbi Abo instituted, I've got a very clever way, combining both views. We will have a tekiah, 3 shvarim, trua, tekiah, 3 of those sets, because we know it's sholish, 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 and you've captured everything. Says the Gemara, no, you haven't. Got it? Says the Gemara, maskif lo Rav Avira. Yeah? 6 lines up. Rav Avira asked, the strong, maskif is always a very strong question. Verdilma Yulule Hava. Okay, you're trying to be clever and combining both the shorter and the longer notes, but maybe actually the Mishnah's right. So therefore, what should you be doing? You should be doing tekiah, teruah, tekiah, or as the Mishnah says, tekiah, sholish yevavos, tekiah. Right? That's all you're meant to do. V'kol mafsik shloisha shavarim bein teruah letekiah. Oh, now you've got a note in between your tekiah and your teruah. You with me? If you subscribe to the Mishnah's view that it's meant to be tekiah, teruah, tekiah, you can't have something in between. You can't add anything to this sandwich. You're going to foul up that whole sound, which is meant to be tekiah, teruah, tekiah, not tekiah on something else and then a teruah. In which case, you cannot get away with blowing tekiah, shvarim, teruah, tekiah. Good question. Says the Gemara, Dahoda Ovid tekiah, teruah, tekiah. Oh, that's a good question. What he did after doing the institution of tekiah, tekiah, shvarim, teruah, tekiah, he also blew tekiah, teruah, tekiah to capture the Mishnah. Are you with me? Yeah? The problem was there's going to be some note in between the tekiah and the teruah. So answers the Gemara, oh, well, he'll have to blow that as well, because otherwise blowing tekiah, shavarim, teruah, tekiah, the shavarim would break between the tekiah and the teruah. Are you with me? That's why he's blowing that as well. So now, what do we think he's doing? He's blowing tekiah, shavarim, teruah, tekiah, and then tekiah, teruah, tekiah. Yeah? Says now another question. Maskif lo ravina. V'dilma genuche hava. Maybe the Braisa's right, which means maybe it should be tekiah, shavarim, tekiah. V'kol mafsaka teruah bein shavarim tekiah. Your institution, Rabbi Abahu, which was tekiah, shavarim, teruah, tekiah, maybe the shavarim's right. Okay, so you've got tekiah, shavarim, but then there shouldn't be anything in between that shvarim and the tekiah at the end. You can't blow a teruah. It's called a hefsek. Speaking in the middle, it breaks up that whole sound. You with me? Wonderful question. Answers the Gemara, Dohoda Ovid Kia Shloisha Shvarim Terua. Tekia. Oh, you're quite right. A very good question. It will be a hefsek. The Shvarim is meant to be followed immediately with a Tekia. If you follow it with a Terua, you're out, according to the Brisa. So therefore, he blew that as well. Says the Gemara. Elo Rabbi Abo, my iskid. So what is the institution of Rabbi Abo? If he was unsure and he thought maybe it's the longer notes or obday, he's done that. With me? If it's the shorter notes, or obday, he's done that as well. This institution was meant to be able to shortcut. Instead of blowing like the Mishnah or the Brisa, he's combining it in one. We have just asked two questions and said, whatever view you hold, you cannot have a gap on blowing some note, which is wrong, in between your tkiya, either side, and the correct note in the middle. So the Gemara said, well, he's going to have to blow that as well. If he's blowing that as well, then there's no point instituting this new Shavarim Teruah. Are you with me? He's blowing like the Mishnah. He's blowing like the Brisa. You've done everything you need. Okay? Says the Gemara. Now, this is interesting. Masapkele. He's in doubt. Dilma Gonach v'Yolil. Maybe what the Torah wants, it said it's a crying note. Maybe the crying note is a build-up. What do you mean both? Yeah? It's a build-up of a moan plus a cry. So he's now suggested a third option here. Says the Gemara, if that's his suggestion, do it the other way around. Maybe that's also what the Torah means. If you're trying to cover all your possible options, says the Gemara, 2 lines up, the other way around, Dilma Yolil v'gonach. Maybe it should be a cry and then a moan. You with me? Answers the Gemara, stoma de milsa. The general way of crying, sadly, is ki misra inish, when something is loshen ra here, when something's not quite right. Inish milsa, bereisha gonach bahoda yolil. A person, the normal crying would start off as a moan and then move on to the cry. So that's what he's got. Have a look at Rashi. Rashi just gives me a few more. The Dilma, have you got it? What Dilma? The Dilma, about 10 lines up. The Dilma on this on the outside. Normally Rashi's plays on the inside, but here he's on the outside as well. Rashi is on both sides. There's no tosfos. The Dilma genuche. If it's meant to be the moaning note, you shouldn't have truas. As we saw in the Gemara, there's now going to be a hefsek, meaning a something which is in between the note and the final tekiah. It's meant to be straight tekiah, whatever the true is meant to be, and then the tekiah after it. That was one option. In fact, that was a second option in our Gemara. Rashi must have had the other way around. The Dilma Yululeo, or the Gemara suggests maybe it's like the Mishnah. The Ein Lonu Shvarim, there shouldn't be any Shvarim. It's the wrong note. Because Mafsake Shvarim, the Kashrak. Can you see that Kashrak? Stands for Tekiah, Shvarim, Trua Tekiah. Can you see that? Interesting, Rosh Hashanah. Some people would say Tashrat. a tof, but they're using a kuf for a tekiah. Yeah, de kashrak, de Rabbi Avo. There's therefore going to be this hefsek, something intervening between de Rabbi Avo bein tekiah rishona letrua. You with me? It should go straight into the trua, but ain kam b'shutalach lefonel. Says Rashi at the end, Bereisha genuche gonach. A person sadly starts off with a moan, as we've seen before in Rashi. Here Rashi says again, genichos aruchos, longer moaning, with a nice French word for those people who are into the French. Yeah, don't know about that word. Bahoda miyalil, and after that person would be crying with another French word, just to help out those French scholars, or actually weren't scholars, the people who that was the language they were familiar with. So what are we left with? We're left with something very interesting. We've got the Mishnah, and it's all based on what is the central part of this sandwich, the middle part. Is it Truas, the Mishnah, Shavorim, Brisa, or Rabbi Avo has come up with another option? What the Torah might mean is Shavorim and Trua. So Tekiah, Shavorim, Trua, Tekiah. Call that 4 notes if you like. So therefore, that's exactly what we do today. Like Rabbi Avo, we cover all our options, which is Tekiah, Shavorim, Trua, Tekiah. 3 of those. 4 3s are 12. Plus another 9, Tekiah, Trua, Tekiah, 3 of those, that's 9. That's now 21, correct? 12 and 9, plus another 3, Tekiah, well, we said Tekiah, Shavarim, Trua, or Tekiah, Trua, Tekiah. Now, if I can call upon you, please, Peter, if you can go to the Gemara Rosh Hashanah, on this page, which is 34. So let's go to Talmud.
1 second, please.
See, there are a lot of languages now on the translations. Italian and Polish and Portuguese. We could go for the Yiddish one, but let's go for English. Are you okay getting on to Talmud?
Yes, sure.
Whoop.
Oh, you meant it in here?
No. Can we? I'm so sorry. I meant the Safaria one.
You meant Safari. Okay. I'm in Talmud.
There you go. Oh yeah. Drop down. Drop down to Rosh Hashanah. Whoop. Up to Rosh Hashanah. So we want page 34a. And we want to drop down to this Gemara. So it's right at the bottom of the Omud. Keep going right at the end. You have to keep going. This is the bit that we skipped. Oh, here we are. Mesapkale. Woo. There we are. Gone a bit too far. That's it, Mesapkale. Now, if you double click on that, and let's double click, and let's see what commentary we've got. Have we got the Ritva? Come down on the commentary. Ritva. So it must be on the earlier piece. If you go up on the, scroll up. Next one, up. We'll get there in a minute, I hope. Musapke. No, what above that then? I'm looking for the
I think we didn't.
Iskin. Oh, that's it. Good. Iskin Rabavova Kisri. Now, before you click on, no, sorry, go back again. No, I didn't want Rabavol. That's very nice. But actually, you can click on Rabavol if you like. Try it again. Just know who Rabavol is. Double click there. Tell you about him. There we are. There we are in Caesarea. And Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Elazar ben Pados. Hometown wealth in one light by the Romans. He frequently interceded with them in his fellow Jews. He was known for his humility and piety. But there you go. Up to 320. Now, double click there. Yes. No. That's a search engine. We don't want that. I'm going for, go to resources. Right. Go to commentary. And I'm going for the Ritva. Next one. Now, before you do, go back again. Sorry, a bit quick. Just want to say who the Ritva is. There you are. 1410 commentary. Student of the Rashba and the Ra'ah. In fact, you can click on that twice and give me a bit more about the Ritva if you like. Double click there just to tell me who he is. Or actually, you'll get this Pirush. So anyway, 14th century, Talmud of the Rashba and the Ritva. And here's his Pirush. Now, before we go any further, he's going to quote, this is the question I think we left with last week. Nishal Rabbeinu Hai. Who is Rabbeinu Hai? If you can, please, right on the top it says search. If you go in there, put Hai, H-A-I, see what comes up. Capital H-A-I, yes. Now, got anything? There we are, good. No, we don't want any of that. Haigon, yes. Let's find about Rab Haigon. There we are. Rab Chai ben Sharira died in 1038, just before Rashi was born. Scholar, and the last of the Gaonim. There you go. So Rabbi Chaim, his father, Rab Sharira Gaon, point him to his successor, the Gaon, the head. That's what he was called, the Gaon. Prior to his appointment, he also served his father, Al Bezdin, joined issuing rulers. Amazing credit with over 800 responsa. So he was familiar with the works of Plato. He's strongly against subject philosophy general, but he was familiar with all these things. So yeah, now let's go back to where we were. That's Rabbi Haigon. So we know the Ritva in the 14th century. He's now going to quote. Now go to the side, Nishal Rabbeinu Hai. Now I don't think you've got a translation of that. No, it's okay where you are. Move to the right. That's it. Nishal Rabbeinu Hai. So where are we up to? We're up to this institution of Rabbi Avohu in Caesarea. And his institution was that the middle part of the blowing of the shofar should be a shavarim and a teruah. Because he was unsure, not only unsure about the two views of the Mishnah and the Brisa, he came up with a third option. Now look at the words here on the right-hand side of this Ritva, Rabbi Yom Tov ben Ishbili, Benisha Rabbeinu Haizal. This is the question. The Chikodim Shebo Rabbi Avohu. Are you telling me before Rabbi Avohu came on the scene, and that was, as we saw, Rabbi Avohu, we saw him with the Riyah 320 or whatever? Lo Yotzu Yisrael Yedei Tekiyat Shofar. This was a new institution. Share Nire, it looks like Shahoya Hadova Sofe B'nei. It was a doubt. Inyan Hatrua, the subject of the Trua, Kuda Omron. As the Gemara actually said, we saw that today. Bahar Vadai Pligi. There's an argument between the Mishnah and the Brisa. The Ain Sofik, without doubt, Shehachro Hoysobadova. There must have been a decision. Hachro means a decision made on this matter. What do you mean? Keep going. Look at this. Ki heich efsha. How is it possible? She mitzvah kazu. This is not a mitzvah. Now, sometimes you do have arguments in the Mishnah, the Gemara. We see it countless times on things that happen, but not with this type of frequency. Even if you say in the time of Golos and the time the travails of Klal Yisrael, things have been forgotten. She mitzvah kozu shehoisa b'chol shana. It's yearly. This is happening. Lo yodu amitosa. They didn't know its truth. In other words, the correct way to blow. V'lo ro elu lo elu. Ish mipi ish. This is the question we asked. Remember, ask your father. What did your father blow? How did your father blow? Look at a wonderful language here. Look at this. Ad, what's memresh ein hey? Ad, any guesses on ad memresh ein hey? Mervin's good at these Rosh Hashanahs. Would they not have asked their father, who would have gone from son to father to father to father, ad Moshe Rabbeinu Olav Hasholem? It's not as if there's, this only happens every 50 years that we blow. We're not talking about the blowing of the shofar of Yovel. We are talking about a mitzvah which happened every single year. And we're not talking about a machlokas between Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, which is medieval machlokas. We're talking about a machlokas here in a Mishnah on something, a mitzvah like this, which happens every single year. Well, how did you blow last year? And then ask your father, ask your grandfather. What did his grandfather do until eventually it comes up to Moshe Rabbeinu? How did Moshe Rabbeinu blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah? Eich hoya noyeg. Now keep going. Oh, let's continue on. Here is the answer, or one of them. This is the view of Rabbi Hai Gaon. Remember we saw this Rabbi Hai Gaon answering this question. Now it's true, if you look at the Gemara, it does look like there's a suffix here. Okay, what can you do? That's the lashon of the Gemara. Rabbeinu Hai, which the Ritva is quoting, has a new pshat. Look at this. Ki bevadai, second line down here. Truas Torah b'chol echad. It means a crying note. And the truah of each of these, whether you did a genuche, a moan, bein bilule, whether a cry, they are yoitza, all of them. Shekavonas ha-Torah b'truah, the intention of the Torah when you blow a crying note, la soisois, mikoilos, ushavorim. It sounds broken notes. That's what the Ritva means here. Ubitchila originally, it's got to be a crying note. Whichever one he preferred. And you're yotze any of them. V'hoyu kulon yotzin yutches. Well done, thank you very much. Everybody fulfilled their duty. So you had different shuls, and some were shavorim shuls, and some were teruah shuls, bote medrash. Ha'achachomim, the sages, hoyu yodim came. They knew that it was an option. You could do whatever you like. Avol hamoin ha'om, the general people, hoyu toyin, they made a mistake. Shahoyu svurim sheyesh chiluk beineim. There's a difference. Oh, I'm a member of the Teruah shul, and I'm a member of the Shavorim shul. V'shelo yotzu elu oy elu. You They didn't think that either of them, they were both Yotze. These people, not so knowledgeable, to take out this doubt that they had, to remove the doubt. Yeah, if you could just V'gam shalota hey Torah kishtei Torah, so they shouldn't think there are two Torahs. There's a Shvarim and Teruah. Bo Rabbi Abo v'tikein. Therefore, he instituted lashes kol echod kidibrei elu v'elu. I want every shul to blow both. And just to prove the point, v'gam hoisif Teruah echod mishelo. He added a perfectly legitimate cry. He wanted to suggest every type of crying note, kol nishba, broken note, she'efsha, hanoagin, which it's possible that people might be crying in that way. Because it looks like a machloikas, nokit le Talmud. The Gemara uses the word al derech machloikas, using the word like a machloikas, and with a derech kusha v'teretz. But it doesn't really mean there was an argument between the two, but it means this one did this way, and the other, the Mishnah, did different. But not that they held that you had to do it, it's just that was the minhag. But it uses a loshon of a suffix, but it's not really a suffix. The nimtza, next line, shele divrei rabbeinu hai, a high gone, shaper odom yotzei choivosoi b'chol echod min hasimonim ha'elu. Kushe oisa gimel pa'omim. As long as he does it 3 times, what's happening? Obachol Simon Palm Achas. In fact, he could do Tekiah Shavorim, Tekiah Trua Tekiah, Tekiah Shavorim Trua Tekiah, and that would also be good enough. Obachol Simon Palm Achas, Yase Echod the Malchus, Echod the Zichronis, Gimel the Shofar. You could do that as well. And in fact, there are some people who do that. Some people do that. Not every shul. Leave that out. Yeah, right. Okay, let's go back to seeing each other. Thank you very much, Peter. What an answer. An incredible answer. What Rabbi Abo is therefore saying, he could see, and that's exactly the point, this is post-Mishnayos, he could see the people were getting confused. And a man in the street, on the omnibus, he said, there's a machlokas, and it's not going to be long before you'll find one shul will not be marrying into another shul, and as we know, could end up with a big machlokas. To bring everybody together, Rabbi Abo said, I want everybody to blow everything. And not only that, I'm going to come up with another view, which is certainly legitimate, which is a Shvarim and a Trua, and therefore that's covered every possibility, because I want there to be Achdus in Klal Yisrael. Number one, there should be Arba Ma'achma B'neim. And number two, that you'll soon end up with 2 Torahs, and when there are 2 schools of thought, and we'll, actually dividing up Yiddishkeit into two schools. We don't want that. So therefore, to try and bring everybody together, he instituted, and that's what we do today. We blow all 3. But it comes out like this, that when he's blowing the Shavarim Teruah, that is the cry, which is a possible cry, which is very important for the Tekiah before and after it. In other words, we thought originally he was doing a Shavarim and a Trua. He wasn't sure whether it's a Shvarim or the Trua. Now he's saying, no, a Shavarim and a Trua could be a possible way you'd get a tick for it. But that does mean that the tekiah has to be as long as the shvarim and the trua in between. So that's now beautiful view. I'm not saying everybody agrees to this, Rav Haigorn, but a wonderful teretz to this question. And that was a question that Peter had, asked your father. And the answer is no. It looked like there was two schools of thought, but there weren't. But everyone's possible, but we're bringing them all together. Yes, it lengthens the service, but it does bring everyone together. There should be achdus, that everybody is doing, as I say, reading off the same sheet, reading and doing the same thing. And therefore, what we now have is everybody blowing. So in fact, they're 30, could have been 9, or if it would have been Shkia, Shavarim, Teruah Tkiya, that would have been 4 3s of 12. They're 30, and that is the total, and putting those 3 pieces of Gemara together. And with that, gentlemen, we'll leave you for tonight. Hopefully, next week, we'll have a look at the Tosfos, because this is all assuming a Teruah are 3 notes, culture. Remember Yevovos? Da-da-da, that's it. Now, people may say that's not what we do. So watch this space, and we'll see that that is the view of Rashi, but we'll see that Tosfos disagrees with that middle part. We'll more about that in a minute, not in a minute, actually, a week. So with that, gentlemen, I wish you well. Good to see you.